Welcome to Listen MKE Live, a community listening project of the Ideas Lab at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. I'm your host, James Causey, project reporter for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, and I'm joined by Taryn Powell, WUWM Race and Ethnicity reporter. Our partners are WUWM 89.7 Milwaukee's NPR, Milwaukee Public Library, and Milwaukee PBS. Joining me for a conversation today, Markasa Tucker, Director of the African American Roundtable, and Pastor Walter Lanier of Progressive Baptist Church. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me.
Markasa, I'm going to start with you. Can you talk about your role with the African American Roundtable?
Absolutely. So I actually came to the African American Roundtable through our organization, Wisconsin Voices. And so I came to Wisconsin Voices in January 2014 as an office manager and was promoted to the director of the Roundtable in August of 2017 after working with the Hamilton family around Dontre's murder, but also after supporting them in some of the work that they had done on the ground. And since then, we've kind of done some work around the DOJ. So specifically, the Roundtable is a coalition of leaders throughout our community, Black leaders, who are working to ensure that the people have power to do the things necessary in the community to get the things that they want, like some of the things that we'll talk about in the demands. But we want to make sure that our people are able to thrive and to live in this community in Milwaukee.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the demands. You guys made news recently when you came up with a list of demands. What are those demands and how do you plan to get them accomplished?
Absolutely. So just to give a little background on that, last year, the African American Roundtable started a campaign called Liberate MKE. We launched it last year on Juneteenth, and we just pretty much the coalition of folks on the core team of the African American Roundtable tried to figure out what can we organize around together. So many of us are doing so many things, around jails, around healthcare, all sorts of topics. But what was one thing that we could agree on and build on? And we all agreed that the police budget was completely unjust and out of whack. And so once we went and looked at it and started to share that information with people, realizing that the city budget was almost 50% of the entire city budget, we knew then that this was an opportunity for us to engage the community and to allow them to organize around their own ideas. So that's where Liberate MKE came from. It came from a community idea on how we can get investment back into our community and to help straighten an unjust budget out. And so our request last year was a $25 million divestment from the Milwaukee Police Department to go back into community initiatives like violence prevention, youth employment, housing. And so last year, we were actually able to organize the community come out to get $15 million divested, with $900,000 of that money going toward youth employment for summer earn and learn, also to affordable quality housing. We have a program that we still are working to put together. And then the last thing would be violence interruption. So we just built upon that. And we know in the environment we're in right now, we're hearing defund the police all over the country. And we're glad that we were able to start this work last year and start to educate our community around what it looks like to get investment back. So it's not about, people, you guys are this about the police, that about the police. We're about community and community investment. So some of the demands that we have are specifically for public safety. We know that police do not keep us safe. They are not intervening bodies. They are reactionary bodies. And so we have asked for a $75 million divestment from MPD to reinvest back into building healthy communities that can thrive. And we want $50 million to go back into public health and $25 million into housing cooperatives. Another one of our demands are the rights of protesters be respected and not harmed, and no harm come to them. We know that our mayor, our police chief, along with the county executive, asked Governor Evers to bring the National Guard here. That isn't what keeps people safe. It's a waste of taxpayers' money or whoever's paying for it. It's a waste of their money. And we would prefer to see that protesters who have the right are not tear gassed. They're not hit with rubber bullets, and any of the tickets or the fines that they're receiving in regards to that would be dropped. We are also asking for justice for Joel Acevedo. We know that the officer was charged and has yet to be terminated. And so we stand with the family and ask that the Fire and Police Commission, Chief Morales, whoever's hands it is, to assure this family that he will be fired. And we're also asking for the 3 named accomplices in the criminal complaint to also be brought to justice. We also are asking the FPC to continue to be the voice of the community. As a civilian body, we want to ensure that that investigation of that officer remains with the FPC and not go back to the police department. We also want to ensure that the accountability to the community would rest with the community, and that Common Council President Cavalier Johnson to immediately appoint members to the Community Collaborative Committee, which did the work around the DOJ recommendations after Dontre's murder. The last 2 would be around responding to the executive order to bring the National Guard here. So instead of the National Guard coming here, we're asking that housing, that implementation and a moratorium on evictions, foreclosures, rents, mortgage, utility, and disconnections for Milwaukee County residents through the end of 2020 be put in order. We are still in a pandemic. I think people are forgetting because the stay at home are, lifting and people are going out. We're still fighting COVID. The last one is healthcare, a declaration of racism in the state of Wisconsin as a public health crisis. Public and private institutions must be expanded to ensure Milwaukee County residents and have access to affordable health care. We were able to get some of these demands from SJAC, which is St. Joe's Accountability Coalition, that came together when Ascension was looking to really shut down and debunk St. Joe's Hospital.
Yeah, those are quite a bit of demands. Do you believe the mayor and the common council have the fortitude to make the necessary changes to MPD in this new age of policing?
We believe that a lot of this power we know rests with the mayor. We know a lot of this power sits with the chief, but we know also that the Fire and Police Commission is the most powerful governing body in the country. So a lot of this power also resides with them around SOPs, but also the mayor and the common council have a hand in this budget and how this money is going to be invested in or outside of the community. And again, we are also knowing that the Fire and Police Commission and Chief Morales, they have an obligation to answer that call to Joel Acevedo's family about whether or not that officer is going to be terminated. It's one of the 2 that can do it. They need to figure out who that is and make it happen.
Right. Pastor Lanier, for a lot of this stuff to work, there needs to be a partnership between churches and community groups aims to social justice. Oh, it looks like we lost Pastor Lanier for a time. I'll keep it on you, Markasa. What would you say the role of the church should be in the role of social justice when it comes to this?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. So I am a Christian myself and have done my work from that lens. And I appreciate this opportunity for the church to be engaged. There's been tons of missed opportunities, but this is a time now for them to come and humble themselves in the community, and not to just come in and try to plow and bulldoze ideas, but to actually come and listen and be in a space where they can actually hear the work that's been going on, hear the heart of the community and find their place there, but also support those who have already been doing the work like myself or a Pastor Walter Lanier, and find out how we can engage so that we can come together. But this is their absolute role to be doing this work. For anybody that knows anything about Jesus, we want to believe that Jesus, walked around, did miracles, but he also, just like, the analogy that people like to share, the story about him flipping over tables. He was a radical, he was a liberator, and he came to share what needs to be done in order for people to be free. And that is the role of the church.
Right. Pastor Lanier is back now. Pastor, the question for you is, what do you think, what role should the church play, especially now in the role of social justice?
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you to Markasa, and she has laid out the case well. I agree that the church should be involved, and hopefully would have always been involved even before this time. The church is a body that is supposed to be a voice for justice. My understanding of God and my theology is that God is a God of justice. And I'm thankful to have been involved in a variety of places with the Progressive Baptist Church, also through Micah, also through Pastors United, working with the African American Civic Engagement Roundtable on pursuing justice in Milwaukee. I think one of the challenges for the church, so I won't just talk about progressive, but the church at large, is that traditionally, at least as the way we sometimes hear the narrative, the church was the leader of the civil rights movement, which is not necessarily accurate. Anyway, they were a part of the community. And so here, the church needs to walk alongside the community. Prayerfully, it's been doing that already, but if not, it does need to do that to hear, as Markasa has said, what is the heart of the community? What are the demands of the community? How can we amplify the voice of community? How can we speak truth to power? Sometimes our voice will be received differently than those at the grassroots level in the community organizers. And so sometimes we need to raise our voice loudly when we see injustice, a lack of accountability taking place here in the city. And of course, we've seen that for a long time, sadly, here in Milwaukee, where there's a...
Uh-oh. Pastor Lanier is going in and out. I'm going to go back to you, Markasa. Will the state? One thing that we're running up against is that the state GOP, and will they support changes in any kind of laws, or will Milwaukee be forced to go this alone? What do you think?
Yeah, so we see how that turned out for the elections, April 7th. The way that the GOP is working and operating does not appear to be for the people. And that's really, really unfortunate. But for me, that goes back then to what is our responsibility in ensuring, and our organization is nonpartisan, so we don't go out and tell folks who to vote for. But the question for me starts to be, what does it look like to build a leadership pipeline to get the people that folks want to represent their interests in office? And although we may have missed our chance in 2020, or although we may have missed our chance 4 years ago, what can we do looking forward, and not so much think about the missed opportunities? And I think this is a time that people who want to be that voice, people who know that they have the passion, people who know they have a heart for people, to prepare themselves to get into position so that they can be on those levels where policy needs to be changed, where legislation needs to be drawn so that it represents our people. But for the folks who are currently in office, it is still our duty to hold those who are in office accountable for the things that we want. So I think this is a perfect time for people to get engaged around lobbying, to learn about that. The Roundtable will definitely be providing those types of resources and training, and also just get into the ear of the folks that we do see and do know in our community, and find ways to figure out how we can get our voice heard on that state level.
You're listening to Listen MKE Live, a community listening project of the Ideas Lab in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. This is a partnership with WUWM 89.7, Milwaukee's NPR, Milwaukee Public Library, and Milwaukee PBS. Markasa, in Minneapolis,
James, can I cut in really quickly? Before we switch to another subject, I wanted to ask Markasa, and I'm sorry, the pastor had dropped off again, but as we talk about the demands and different community organizers coming together and the church being a part of the conversation and having demands, how long are you guys prepared to wait? If that's something that you're told by people in leadership positions, is that a conversation that group organizations are having?
Yeah, there is no time for waiting. We're beyond waiting. I think I read this in an article last night with Daryl Gibson from Lit. This is the moment. There is no waiting. There is no taking pauses. We have been asking for these types of things for years and years and years. People have now taken the streets, so I think it's going on 11 or 12 days. The time is now for people to respond to what people in this community want, what taxpayers are paying for. These are our tax dollars, and we deserve today the investment that the people in this city deserve, and the people in this city need to live and to thrive. So no, we're not having any questions and conversations around, what the timetable is going to look like. No, we are demanding these things need to be done ASAP.
Markasa, I'm getting people sending me questions, and please submit your questions to the Facebook live stream. In the Twin Cities in Minneapolis, all 4 officers were fired immediately after the video surfaced involving George Floyd's death. But in Milwaukee, we have an officer who was involved in the death of Joel Escovedo by using a chokehold. He's still receiving a paycheck. Why is it so hard for this city to fire officers?
Why is it so hard for Chief Morales to do his job? That's a really great question. And that's the question that we're asking Chief Morales. Why can't you do your job? The mayor has asked him to fire this officer. And now his excuse is, oh, the Fire and Police Commission is doing the internal investigation. That does not ultimately trump the power that he had prior to, or the power that I'm sure he still has to be able to fire one of his officers. But also people need to know that there are state statutes and legislations that allow these types of things to happen. So I believe I just saw a post from Kaylin Haywood II that he and other folks who work for the state are looking to create some legislation that this cannot happen. While the police, are, with their fingers and their hands tied, what can they do to create some type of legislation to ensure when officers are charged with a felony, I think that's what I've read, are charged with a felony, that they do not continue to sit and collect a paycheck after they've murdered somebody. That's completely unacceptable. And we should maybe look and see what Minnesota did. Find out what is in those police officers and those chiefs' hearts that made them make that call. If it was the police chief in Minnesota, what is it different about our police chief? The reason why he can't do something that seems completely simple. When you murder someone and you have a felony, why do you think that you get to still have a check? You've been charged. You've been charged by the DA. What are we waiting for?
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the protests. You're right. We're in the second week of protesting here, and we witnessed the good of the protests. We've seen a lot of peaceful marches. We've also seen some looting and some buildings burn. But for the most part, it's been great. But this past weekend, we also saw the ugly when a attorney spit in the face of a Black Lives Matter protester, a young teen. Can you talk a little bit about that incident and what you saw?
First thing I thought was, this is what has been hiding behind corners, on neighborhood blocks, in our classrooms with our students, in the workplaces that we're in, grocery stores. These are the people that we live amongst, and they are starting to come out more and more. And how disgusting. I mean, disgusting on all levels, disgusting, physically, mentally, all of those things, that someone could spit in anyone's face, let alone a young person who is out just simply utilizing his right to protest. It's absolutely disgusting. And I'm glad that those folks on the ground, like Shavonda from Love on Black Women, continue to press until we made sure that what I heard was a phony first arrest actually turned into a real arrest, and that this woman is sitting in jail. If she is or not, I'm not sure, but that she also needs to lose her law license, like easily. No one should want her to practice law anywhere. She's a disgusting individual, and she has a lot that she needs to think about her own personal self. But that is what the root of white supremacy looks like. It will spit in the face of a person who has the right to be out peacefully protesting.
Yeah, like I said, I consider that young man a hero for not retaliating, because it takes a lot in your heart to not retaliate for something like that. And we should wrap our arms around him. So Mark, one question that keeps coming up as well is, what can I do to help? Well, a lot of people can't participate in the march. You mentioned yourself that COVID-19 still exists and people have to be safe, but people want to be a part of this movement. They feel like they want to do something. What can people do? How can they be a part of this?
Absolutely. And this message, I want to specifically say for the church, but also as the greater community, people need to support what's already going on. That's one thing, but also take some time to do some learning. The church needs to learn, and the community who's never been engaged in this work needs to learn. also figure out what is your purpose? What is the call that God has put in your life? What is it that you love to do? You might be a communications person. You might love social media. You might love speaking out and typing up emails to city and elected officials. Figure out what it is that you're really good at and find a way to support these organizations that are already doing the work on the ground. Everyone is listed on Facebook: Leaders Igniting Transformation, Black Leaders Organizing with Communities, the African American Roundtable, Comforce with Vaughn, and the list goes on and on and on. And it's not just, the organizing groups that need support. It's also groups that are doing work, to support young people around sex trafficking. There's so many issues that people can be engaged with. All I think you need to do is get into the community, literally go and be with the people, whether it's you figuring out if I have to just go and stand at a protest and just ask a few questions, or if you just connect with some of the people who you see on social media doing this work. Hey, I might not be able to do this, but I would love to be able to connect with someone around, mentoring young people. Linnell Rainey with the Bucks Mentor Group. He's doing something. He's been begging for mentors. There's so many ways for people to engage. I think that if people really want to engage, though, they have to go and find the people, which is not really simple, right around this city, and ask folks who's doing the work and who and where can I get engaged.
What happens after the protest? What's next?
Absolutely. Well, right now, I don't think these protests are going to stop until some of these demands are met. So right now it's what can happen after the protest, which is continually developing leaders, teaching people how to organize. We are doing an amazing job in Milwaukee with Frank and Frank Nitty and Khalil, really leading and mobilizing people to the streets, which is an important part of the movement work, to keep the energy going and to keep our face and our messages in front of people until we get what we want. And I'm hearing that they're ready to stay in those streets until we get what we want. And I know that includes getting the officer who killed Joel Acevedo, get him fired, getting the divestment from the police department. And I know the budget goes throughout the year. So I don't know. These people are ready to stand, though, in the streets until they get what they want. So what I would like to do at the Roundtable is, we're going to be organizing around a city budget that is already really started. We'll be actually relaunching Liberate MKE all next week, doing virtual learnings and education. So if folks are interested in that, they should definitely follow our page. But we want to educate people. We want to do trainings and workshops for folks who want to learn lobbying, how to effectively tell your story, how to draft an email to an elected official, but also giving them opportunities to get engaged in the process by sharing actions and, again, developing leaders.
Now, have you seen a police department do divesting the right way? Has that worked successfully in other cities that you could point to and say, San Francisco did this, so Milwaukee could copy that plan and divest from the police department and put that funding into community groups? Have you seen that done effectively anywhere?
I'm not sure. I think Reggie Moore from the Office of Violence Prevention may have shared maybe something that was maybe in Oakland or California where they did do that, and they invested more into violence prevention, and it worked. I know that the conversation now for some people across the country, though, is moving more towards defunding versus divestment. And that's a conversation we need to have with folks here in the community, for folks to really understand why those conversations are shifting and why we want to ensure that people, as we, share new terms and new messages, that they know why we're saying it, but also the importance of why it's going to help to keep our people safe. So that's stuff that we, our organizer, Devin Anderson, he does a lot of the research around policies and what's happening in other places. But of course, he's busy working today, so I don't have all the details right in front of me.
But if you can try to help us understand what that when you take money from the police department and you put it into programs, how does crime go down, and how does that improve community and neighborhoods and things like that? Can you walk us through that process of how you envision this working?
Absolutely. So when we started Liberate MKE, we partnered with Black Leaders Organizing with Communities, or for communities. And the one thing that I know Black had been doing since August of 2017, when they hit the ground, knocking on doors daily up until just COVID hit, was having conversations with people. What would it look like for you to thrive? Just a really simple question. And people said stuff like, access to, food, clean water, access to transportation so we can get to jobs, quality education. People know that when they have the things that they need, their basic needs met, we can reverse tons of things, because guess what we're doing? We're actually preventing some things from happening, because people are going to have jobs, because people are going to have access to food, and people are going to have access to transportation to get to their jobs. So we're talking about, what does prevention look like? And investing in prevention is a way better investment than doing something that doesn't. And there's been reports done. Policing doesn't necessarily end crime. It doesn't slow crime. It doesn't wrap crime. So if we already have the reports out there, we have the messaging, and we know that prevention actually works, then what are we waiting for to put resources and money to what we know works? We also, during the Liberate MKE campaign, when we sat down and talked to people in the community, we said, draw a picture about that shows what it would look like to have like a thriving neighborhood. And not one of the pictures did anybody draw the police in regards to what a safe and thriving community looked like.
That's impressive.
It's a
Go ahead.
Markasa, since we're talking about the specifics of what divestment and the police will look like, I want to ask you about another term that I've just been seeing like circulating, and that's police abolishing the police. I know that hasn't been anything that you've spoken on specifically, but is there any kind of insight that you could give into what that would look like?
So first, with, like I said, the conversation has gone from divestment to just completely defunding it, because what we know that policing is rooted in is in slavery, and we know that it's violent. We know that it's oppressive, and it hasn't worked. It has not worked. It's killing people, and people need to start thinking about, what does real safety look like? It looks like what we've been talking about, investing in people and putting the power in their hands. Like I see Nate's comment right now, putting the power into the people's hands and allowing them to do the work that they know looks best for them. We need to, when we say defund, we're talking about, we need a whole new system. We need a whole new creation of what it looks like for people to look to be safe, but it can't be something that's rooted in what our police departments are rooted in, that culture that people talk about. The culture is because it came from slavery, period. End of the story. You can't change that. You can't lie about it. You can try to cover it up, but that's the truth. Policing is rooted and came from slavery, and we know that needed to be abolished, and so does policing.
I kind of want to that leads me into this next question, as far as groups that are working to make change. Someone asks, there has been an announcement about forming a commission for police reform. Has Liberate MKE been contacted or affiliated with this sentiment? And then I have a question to add to that. Do you think another commission is necessary?
This is a great question. I'm so glad that you asked. So the committee that I was a part of last year, the Community Collaborative Committee, that came from the DOJ coming to town after Dontre Hamilton was murdered by a former police officer. And so that committee was really the voice of the community. What does the community want? The community said, we want reform. We want, community relations. And because I was asked to be a part of that work and to help the community, I took on that responsibility as the chair. We developed a report, and these are the things that people said they wanted. That report is available, and we've shared it with the community. We've done share outs. And so now where does that leave that committee? This committee was actually a part of the ACLU settlement and has been established to stay as the Community Collaborative Committee, as kind of like a accountability board, like a baby, honestly, accountability board to the FPC, to ensure what the community did say they wanted actually gets pushed and moved forward. So what happened just a few days ago or last week when the mayor announced a new committee, commission, or a task force? We're very confused what that committee would do when there's already a committee with community members who will be assigned to the committee already. We're just waiting, as a part of my demands, that Chevy appoints people, the mayor gets an appointment, the Roundtable gets an appointment, and a bunch of other communities groups. So we're not sure what's happening, but it's very confusing to the community for the mayor to start another committee when there's already another committee. I'm not for any more committees. We're over committees. We just want our demands met at this point.
Let's get back to that committee. Did this come out of left field? Did anyone have any knowledge of this committee being formed, or did they talk to any of the leaders that you know of before they put this committee together?
Well, the community is often left out of these types of conversations, and we were left out of this one as well. So yeah, it came from way far left field. I got a screenshot of the tweet that the mayor actually put out saying that he was going to actually share information about this new committee. And we're like, what is this new committee? And what about the other committee that still hasn't been able to do any work and offer any accountability around that report that it took over 2 years for us to get together and to get the feedback from the people? Where are we on that? And so we're still waiting to hear from the mayor's office about that. Chevy has responded and said that he's, going to be talking about his appointments to the original CCC committee, but that still leaves the question, what in the world is this other committee going to be doing? I say, get rid of this new committee. We don't need another committee. Again, we need our demands met at this point.
Well, there's a question from Vaughn Mays who says, we need community policing, like actual community policing, not them making up their own version of police doing things parading around as community, but still the police policing. In your mind, what does real community policing look like?
It looks like community being in control of their own communities. We know that, and for some people, they're just like, oh, I just can't imagine, any world without police. Well, I could never imagine, I think probably when I was younger, actually hearing that people would say defund the police. But guess what? That's the moment that we're in right now. And we are saying, as this generation of people, we will not continue to stay in the status quo, to try to work within a system that we know has never worked and is not going to work. So that looks like us taking control of our own communities, which we know because of so much generational trauma, so much wrong and oppression and devaluing and divestment to our communities has caused an opportunity for us to take this step back and say, okay, in the same vein of us talking about reinvesting into our communities, what does it look like for us to start also putting our own thing together around what it looks to community police? Well, I won't even use the word police, but community control over our own communities to take care of ourselves. We know what we need to take care of ourselves. We need the resources poured in to help us to do that. And we're trying to do that with some of the initiatives that we've asked for.
Yeah. I received someone is sending me a private message, and they basically say that if we move to a strategy where we're removing police, there would be mayhem everywhere and no one to control it. I pretty much know what your response would be to that, but I want to hear it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, this is not something that we're about to get ready and do tonight. We are not about to get ready and do tomorrow. This is going to have to be, again, a parallel conversation around investing resources simultaneously while we are taking those investments and resources and putting together plans, opportunities, and programs for our own communities to be in their own communities, taking care of them. But we need resources. Money is needed for everything. The health department in the current budget going towards 2021, I think they're getting under 3%. That's where the violence prevention program is. And also, I saw Nate mention as well, we absolutely have to be involved in this budget process. Talking about participatory budget, that's going to be something else folks in the community will hear this year. We have to be at the table, not on the side of the table, not behind the table, not after the fact. We have to be at the table making the decisions because this is our city. We pay taxes and they are actually working for us. Right.
Let's talk a little bit about the organizers of these protests. And the jobs that they have been doing in making sure everyone stays safe and protected. What do you have to say about the work that they've been doing on a daily basis and keeping this going?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So the work that we're seeing Frank Nitti and Khalil Coleman leading, it's been beautiful. Like I said, I've been enjoying to the fullest seeing so many faces come out and support the movement in this moment of rebellion and resistance. It's been an amazing thing. And just like you said, the majority of what people have been seeing has been safe. We know that folks were tear gassed and they were rubber bullet, so hit with rubber bullets. But what do you expect to happen when people are met with militarized and tanks and all of these things? When people were coming and we saw peace, we saw the peaceful protesters, and we still are talking about the officer who put his knee in a protester's, I think, neck. And folks are like, they talk about a Molotov cocktail. Has anybody seen the video of a Molotov cocktail being tossed at protesters? Has anyone seen it? Because I'm still waiting to see that video. So, you have Frank and Khalil leading these spaces. We've seen marshals, we've seen cars caravanning, we've seen them out on bullhorns, and we've seen them giving instruction, telling people, we're going to do this peacefully. No, we're going to do it this way. No, let's meet this way. Let's do it that way. Bringing different marches together as well. So it's a beautiful sight, and there is a place for those who are in the streets in this movement. And I don't want anyone to ever get that twisted. What they're doing is a part of what needs to be done to continue to push. This is what we're going to keep doing until those demands are met. This is what we're going to keep doing. We're going to continue to be in the street and peacefully protest. But anything that you have seen that may not have looked peaceful, it is only a consequence of white supremacy not being addressed in this city and in this country.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some comments made by the police chief. He said water bottles were being thrown at officers. We discussed the Molotov cocktail incident. And he also he made some statements that I think some people would say got him in hot water, where he compared his officers, saying that they've been crucified or something to that.
Another disgusting comment. So, when you're.
But my question is this: he feels that a level of respect has been lost when it comes to citizens as towards police. And I want to see what you think about that. Can this be something that can be repaired, or what needs to take place?
So the respect has been lost a long time ago. We could go back to the list, Derek Williams, Dondreham, like the list is ongoing of people who have been killed by police, not just killed by police, but mishandled by police, the strip searches, the list can go on. So respect has been lost for police long time ago. Like I said, if it's rooted in slavery, I can't respect, a culture that has not and will not change. It's clear. This culture cannot be changed because the root it's dead. It's rooted in something that will not allow people to live peacefully or safely. So if he wants to go back and backtrack to the history of policing and find out where respect was lost, he can go back to the beginning when they were put in place to herd people back and to make sure they were still on their passes, in the right neighborhoods. So no, we don't want to hear about respect at this time. We want to hear about people remaining free to protest as their right. And we also want to make sure that Black and brown people and people throughout this city are not killed at the hands of police. We need to see defund from the police department and get money back into our communities.
Okay, going back to the respect factor, how can that respect be brought back? How can respect be earned on both sides?
I don't know how our community, since I can't speak for the entire community, I'm not sure how respect will ever be brought between police and the community. Again, I can't help but continue to echo, because of its foundation and its principles, it's hard for people to respect that when the culture is what it is. And as far as police, they're servants, so they should be already respecting the people that pay their salaries and the people that they are to serve. They put themselves in this position. They applied for it. They got the job. So if you want to serve the people in the role that you're in, or speak up and be that voice that says, you know what, Officer Mattioli needs to be fired. You're absolutely right. He needs to be fired. He's got to go. Speak up and be that voice and come from behind that blue shield.
Right. Are there?
I have a question to that before we change. As far as how police can, be more present with the community, maybe forge some kind of solidarity. What would that look like to you? I think, we see across the country, there are police joining marches, there are police kneeling, but what does real solidarity between the community and the police look like to you?
Yeah, I'll reiterate my last comment. It looks like police on the inside coming from behind the blue shield and saying, yeah, this is not only not right, but we support the community that Officer Mattioli needs to go. So it's saying that, and it's saying, yeah, you know what? Our budget is completely unjust and out of whack, and, just completely out of balance. And we do need to figure out a way of how we can defund ourselves to make sure that our neighbors, if they live in our communities, if the police even live in our communities, if our neighbors or these communities that we say we care about have what they need. They need to speak up and come from behind the blue shield.
And I think you bring up another issue as well that I've seen people talking about, is that there are police that don't live in the city. Is that something that you think, like, should they be required to stay here? Like, if they're protecting these communities, shouldn't they? I'm sorry, I won't say shouldn't they, but do you think they should be, for lack of a better word, mandated to like live near, the people that they serve?
The community, I've heard lots of people who have put in that request. That was some of the information that was in the community report from the community collaborative committee, where people wanted to actually see that. But again, there's no, I don't believe that there's any information, any reports, any research that shows that police that actually work and live in those communities, that they make it safer. There's been actually incidents. I believe there was one in Illinois, I think it was Chicago, where a young lady was killed by a police officer who lived in her neighborhood. So, when someone's ready to show us those reports and that research that actually shares information that police that live in that community actually are going to care about that community and what that actually looks like, let us see that information. But from now, we haven't seen that.
We have Pastor Lanier back, and if we could get the pastor on, I just want to get back to this, the church's role when it comes to social justice and the history of the church when it comes to social justice. You were talking about that when we lost you earlier.
Well, yeah, I think the church's role as it relates to social justice remains the same, in that we serve a God who is a God of justice. In particular, in the Black church, our fundamental understanding of God as a God as a liberator. At least that's my understanding as a pastor, and that's my understanding of most, if not all, of my colleagues. God was a liberator. He liberated people up out of bondage in Egypt, brought people into the promised land. And so God is a liberator, and that is our history to some extent. Now, some of that is a bit of an overstated narrative. And the reason I say that is last year, me and my congregation, we read Dr. King's book of the Montgomery bus boycott. And one of the things you find out in that book is where he talks about some of the frustrations he had with the masses of the churches because they did not always participate. So he actually had a little bit of disappointment. And so it won't be a universal call. It won't be a universal move, but the church, in my view, is a liberating force. It should have already been connected to the community. I'm thankful to serve at a church and in organizations that regularly connect to the community. And once you're in connection, in relationship, then it's a matter of what do we say that we should do.
Pastor, do you know of any initiatives that call for the community to police itself that has worked successfully?
I defer a lot to the African American Civic Engagement Roundtable. As a matter of fact, we work closely with them. They've met regularly in the Progressive Baptist Church. And so I've signed on to their demands. Progressive has signed on to their demands. And so they're really experts in this area. There are ways that we can be successful in community policing. One of our challenges is we simply have not had that reality here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We've had a long history of police abuse. Going back to my knowledge, as far as Ernest Lacey, people probably know before that, you had the Meyer-Breyer regime, which had its foot on the neck of the Black community and others. And so that's come forward, it's ebbed and flowed, but we've had a lot of death at the hands of officers that have gone unprosecuted. And so building relationship with the community is critical. And it requires leadership that is emotionally intelligent, emotionally mature, and not easily offended or defensive. I was really disappointed, to be kind, with Police Chief Morales' comments about the police officers being crucified. It was really out of order. relative to the church. It was really out of order relative to those who have actually lost their lives, the Dontre Hamiltons, the Justin Fields, the Alvin Coles, the brother Acevedo, to use that phrase. And so in order for there to be a healthy community policing relationship, there's got to be healthy relationship and humility, which is something that Markasa mentioned earlier on.
Yeah, I think that we need some of that right now. You know, I would be remiss if I didn't mention George Floyd. And as we talk right now, his funeral services are being held. When you saw the video of him begging for his life and calling out to his mom, I could tell you myself, it was chilling.
Yeah.
Tell me what went through your mind, and what do you think was going through that officer's mind when this was taking place?
Wow. I saw still shots in some of the video. I have not yet watched the full video. I was going to watch the full video before I came on this show just to give myself some context. But I was so, there aren't good words, you know, outraged, offended, disgusted, vexed, traumatized, triggered, pissed, infuriated, enraged by what was at least a murder and looked like an execution again at the hands of a police officer. So all of that was going through my mind. I can't even say not again. That doesn't give it the justice of what really was going through my mind and really my soul. It was both the worst of what is America, but also a part of what's been in America since its foundation. This violence in general, and in particular against Black and brown and red bodies. It's fundamentally American. Tragically, it's the worst of what America is. In terms of what I thought was going through his mind, it looked to me like an execution. It looked to me like a whole thing of evil. It looked evil. It looked like an execution. He looked indifferent. I wonder if there's more to the story, just by the look that he had in his eyes. He was so casual about what he was doing to another human life, treating a human in a manner that he wouldn't treat a stray dog. And so I was deeply offended by that. And again, that word does not do it justice. But those are some of the things that were going through my mind. You know, what to do against a systemic force that has the right to kill, the only institution that has the right to kill.
Right. On a more positive note, one thing protests brought out was, you know, athletes speaking their minds. You're the son of a former professional athlete, and the Milwaukee Bucks have participated in the marches, and even NASCAR, where you often see the Confederate flag, they have said that they need to do a better job. This is a change of gigantic scope. So what role does the athlete have in these protests and in the role of social justice?
I think I don't want to put pressure on those who don't want to take the pressure. I think that athletes and artists and entertainers have a unique platform and a unique voice and an opportunity to exercise that voice. People listen to them. Some athletes embrace that, like the brothers in the picture now. Like Colin Kaepernick certainly has embraced it in a unique way. He has been, sacrificial in the same way that George Floyd is literally sacrificial. And so back in the 60s and 70s, you had a lot of athletes, and even before that, who were much more in the activist realm. A lot of great images and photos. You got the brothers holding up their fists at the Olympics. You got the picture with Lew Alcindor and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Sorry about that. Muhammad Ali, Bill Russell, Jim Brown, where they're sitting down at a press conference doing serious work on behalf of the people. You've got artists like Harry Belafonte back in the day. These days, you got, a whole host of folks. Killer Mike comes to mind. LeBron James is doing some things with his money. And then the Bucks did a really good job of getting out. Was pleased to see Jabari Parker come back to the city and to lend his voice. So it really is a matter of how one will stand up for humanity. What happened there was not just illegal, but it was inhumane. It was a crime against humanity. His humanity was snuffed out and snatched out in front of all of us. We saw an execution right in front of all America's eyes while somebody was being filmed, and the guy was like I said, indifferent at best. And so I think we all have to identify what is our flaw. We all need to do something, and we need to identify what it is.
So we only have a few minutes left. So I just want to take a couple Facebook questions. The first is going back to the demands, and it says many of the demands are consistent with a Green New Deal policy. Does the movement have a strong intersection with environmental justice movements, anti-poverty, and workers' rights movements? Are organizations working to make stronger alliances with such organizations to keep growing the movement? And any other comments about unification among groups in the movement?
Here's what I want to kind of pivot that conversation, and I think Markasa may jump in as well because I see she came on the screen. I want to talk about it a little bit differently, in that the movement is doing above what one think its capacity is to do. In other words, it's not well resourced, doesn't have big dollars. This is on the hearts and the passions and the minds of the people. One of the tragedies in this city and in other places that organizations and institutions that have the authority and the bandwidth to create structures to bring people together are often not doing that. And so I know that all movements are organic with some structure, and there are some opportunities to tie together. I do believe in Milwaukee that the more we get an understanding of who we are, who does what well, and how we build together, we always say the people united will never be defeated. I think that's true. I wanted to comment on that when Markasa was talking earlier about power and what the power institutions are, and I know she would have went further. She talked about the power of the city common council, the power of the mayor, the power in the fire police commission. The ultimate power is with the people as we get more and more unified and organized. That's where the power is. And that is a truth. That's where everybody needs to get on board. If the people who were in the seats of power had the capacity and the will to make these changes, they would have been made already. They have not been made. So either A, they lack the capacity to do it, or B, they lack the will to do it, but it's not been done. And so it's got to come from a different place.
Absolutely. And real quickly, we work with Citizen Action of Wisconsin. Raphael Smith is a part of our core team. So we know that's a lot of work that they have done around the Green New Deal. So as we continue to unify, continue to bring more people to the table and to bring environmental, I absolutely believe we need to absolutely have environmental issues as a part of our demand, but it's something that we're continuously working towards to add more people to the table, to add more information to the demands. Like the demands could be lengthy and forever because there's so many things that our people need, but we're absolutely aware of what's going on with the Green New Deal, and we work well with Citizen Action Wisconsin.
Okay. And the last question, is the roundtable connected to any Black police officers? What are they saying? Pastor Lanier, I want you to take that one too.
I have to defer to Markasa again in terms of because she leads the roundtable. I do have relationships with police officers. I'm sure Markasa does as well. The thing about it is there's a difference between what individuals do and what institutions do. And so there are individual officers. We were on a call the other day led by Lanier Ramey, mentor of Greater Milwaukee. There was a brother on the line who was a police officer, first name Mike, and he was really vexed, stressed, pressed because he's trying to navigate a very real line. He's an officer. He's committed to serving his community, but he also knows the reality of the pain and trauma that has been inflicted on communities by bad cops and corrupt system. So the individual relationships are there, and then I'll defer to Markasa to speak. But it's what happens with institutions. What are the institutions doing? What are the systems and structures doing that really makes the difference? Individuals we can shift, but it's the structures that need to make change. And those really get changed from the top down.
Great.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Markasa. I'm sorry.
No, I just want to say no. We don't have any like links and connections and relationships that we're building with police officers at this time. Again, what the police officers can do is take a stand to absolutely come from behind the blue shield and to speak up about what they see as happening to the people in the community.
Great.
Thanks, guys.
I think we're going to end the conversation here, but this is a conversation we will continue in future weeks. You were listening to a Listen MKE Live, a community listening project of the Ideas Lab in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, WUWM 89.7, Milwaukee's NPR, Milwaukee Public Library, and Milwaukee PBS. I want to thank the guests for taking their time to talk about these very important issues. We will come back and talk about this again in the future. And if there's any other people we should be talking to as part of Listen MKE Live series, let us know through our Facebook live stream. And with that, I want to say thank you, and I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.